Alright, so this video is coming to you guys because a lot of people have been talking about the latest crazy news, which is Snyder's cut in the DCEU will feature the anti-life, or at least it showed hints at the anti-life equation being a factor in the upcoming series. So what I'm going to do today is go over the origins of the anti-life, what it is, how strong it is, how it changes the landscape of everything, and overall give people who don't have a clear sense of it a good understanding and idea of what you're potentially dealing with once it's included in the DCEU. Now, if you like content like this, please hit the like button as well as subscribe. I try to put out consistent content on a week-to-week basis, and we're continuing to grow, and for that I'm thankful. But with that being said, this is my anti-life equation video, and I hope you enjoy. Let's begin. Now, even gods seek a higher power in DC Comics. It doesn't just stop with the gods like Darkseid, Highfather, Orion, any of them. It doesn't stop there. They can go even higher. Given their role in the verse and how they are constantly needing ways to get stronger, Darkseid is a being with the simple purpose of constantly seeking to dominate. He's beyond our concept of what a villain would be. He's almost just a natural function. So, for him to get stronger and take over the verse, typically he has to seek outside power to take on the threats that literally transcend him. So, to do so, he's gone through methods and ways such as using something called the anti-life equation, and it is something he's famous for pursuing constantly, the anti-life equation. Now, the reason for this is because obviously it's massively above even the gods, the archetypal gods themselves in DC, and the reason for that is simple. Now, if you go through the comics when it comes to anti-life, the few I would suggest, if you want a clear idea of what it is Cosmic Odyssey issues 1 through 4. You can check some of Final Crisis to help you, as well as Death Metal. I didn't like the Death Metal story, so I'm not going to encourage you to read it. That story was trash, but Death Metal does kind of talk about it. But bottom line is, what we do know is that the anti-life equation isn't just an equation, it's also a being itself, and we saw that in Cosmic Odyssey for sure. That was one of the craziest stories you'll see, in which Dr. Fate had to combine the powers of beings like Etrigan, Darkseid, Orion, Highfather, himself, and there was one more, and he had to combine all of them just to face the might of the anti-life being. Now, the source in DC Comics is the source of all things being all things that exist. They live, sentience, exist, all of that came from the source. Now, one time the source was split, and that split became corrupted to the point that the source itself was not willing to risk absorbing it back into itself. So it broke off, became its own thing, and became to be known as the anti-life being. This being has its own dimension, as well as it has its own anti-life equation. Now, the root of what the power comes from is perhaps what Darkseid hints at, the scariest thing in the DC universe, which is the unknown. So, the anti-life equation, it does mix up several things like despair, anger, guilt, all these things, all those negative emotions, and the unknown. Combines it all together for a complete, overwhelming experience that allows even gods like Darkseid to transcend and become stronger. When he has the anti-life, he can do things like take over existence, cause everything to bend to his will and words. And it's wild that a being who can absorb realms of formless thoughts and things of that nature, whose small infant body was casting a shadow over the multiverse, he is constantly fiending over this equation. That's how strong it is. The fact that it came from the source should be a clue, because Spectre, the very wrath and vengeance of God, he showed up, and when he did in the source, he was completely he didn't know what was really going on at first. It took him a minute. Same with Superman, who has plot armor. It was still hurt. Like, it's very confusing because the source itself is boundless compared to everything else that comes before it. So that kind of power resides in the anti-life. It's the power of the unknown. It's something, like I said, even someone like Darkseid considers to be truly formidable and perhaps the scariest thing in comics. And the reason this is important is because if DCEU brings in an idea like this, the anti-life equation, and they even remotely get the origins and power levels even 1/1,000,000th of a degree close to what it should be compared to the comics, and DCEU is going to get a massive power boost. Easily, probably will put it past, unless they really butcher the scaling, should comfortably put them ahead of the MCU, which would make things pretty interesting. But anyways, guys, let me know what you think about the anti-life equation being added to the DCEU. Do you think they'll go with the comic stuff I went over? The fact that gods like Darkseid pursue it to transcend, become stronger. It broke off from the source. All these things. It's even survived Source Wall, which pins a bunch of people. So, do you guys see the anti-life being used correctly in the Snyder Cut? Do you see it boosting the verse significantly? Do you see them getting it correct? Or do you think they're going to take it and come up with a completely different concept, completely different power level, all that? Let me know your predictions down below. Anyways, it's been YFV, your favorite villain, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.